Okay guys, I welcome you all to this video. I want to especially say a big thank you to, some people have reached out to me on WhatsApp, telling me how my channel has helped them a lot. And some of them have reached out for personal mentorship and all. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for helping out on the channel growth. So I want to do this video more like to help a lot more persons. Okay, so this video is kind of different because I go deeper in some things. But like I said, you have to watch all my videos and put in all the work, right? So this is XAU USD, and I want to show you something very interesting on how to combine your higher time frame buyers with an entry, certain factors that will help you out. All right, so very quickly, I will begin with the monthly time frame, okay? So I hope you can see my chart and you can hear me very clearly. All right, so this is gold. This is the 1 month time frame. So I have some drawings already that I want to use to explain some things, right? So when we look at this, of course, it's very clear. Go to the line chart, you see how we have been moving, right? It's almost one direction, okay? Um, when we go to this point, this is the highest point, the all-time high for gold, right? So go back to the candlestick, you see that level was an A-shaped key level, right? And then what caused this reaction? Okay, we can see that there is an open close bullish key level here. So let's just mark that level, okay? And then this is the current month. This is the month of April, right? So what is causing this rejection here, right? Again, we can see there's an open close key level on the monthly time frame, right? So I've marked out 3 points, right? This is the one key level and this open close key level. Of course, your line chart with markers, you would see them clearly. You see this level clearly here, you see this level clearly here, right? And the obvious A-shaped key level. So let's move over to the weekly time frame and let's fine-tune some things. Let's fine-tune this one to this level. This on the weekly is a V-shaped key level here, and this on the weekly is still an A-shaped key level. So this is what we now have on the weekly, right? This is what we have on the weekly. Okay, so this is now formerly on the monthly was an open close. This also was an open close. This was an A shape, but right now we have it as an A shape here, a V shape here, and also an A shape here, right? And one interesting thing about this particular V shape, remember what V shapes are? They sponsor buys, right? They are support level. So you see that it's sponsored by here, sponsored by here. This is 1 week sponsored by, this week sponsored by, and then it got broken through here, okay? And now this is where we are. This was last week and this is this week, right? Beautiful. So I hope you have been following so far. All right, now this was the level, that rejection on the monthly from here, that rejection on the monthly. So we saw how, of course, we can also refine these levels to a lower level, but I don't want to draw so much line here, right? And we also take note of the fact that there's a fair value gap here, right? There's a fair value gap here. So, but this is not where the price action is now. All we know from here is that we had support levels that kind of like pushed price up, and right now we are here, and this level is reacting from this opposing level here, causing the price to, sell a little. Okay, so let's proceed. So I want to just mark out the previous week candle. This is the previous week, right? Yes, this is the previous week, and the previous week swept this other week. It swept the high of this other week, right? Now let's go to the daily. So pay attention on this weekly because I will come back to it to refer, to point out some things, right? So let's go to the daily. So we want to see how we could have entered or taken so many trades. Would have taken so many trades, right? So this is the previous week, okay? And this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and today is Friday. I don't know how many of you caught sales on gold, but I'm here to explain how you would have caught those sales on gold, right? Now, as much as we traded, we were making higher highs, higher lows, right here. Now, on the weekly, pay attention, you would observe that we didn't quite um, touch on this key level, right? We just had some few pips to go. But then some of us, because of this, we may have been waiting for, for that extra confirmation for the price to actually get to it, right? But this line doesn't mean that the price must touch it, right? So it could touch it a little and go past it a little, or just something like what happened here. But the most important thing is that we understand that this level, this particular level, right, we have a strong resistance level there. Why? Because it was a support level and not just just an ordinary support. It's a strong support because it's a weekly support and it has actually acted on 2 weeks, right? Acted on two whole weeks, right? So this level, when the price was approaching here, right, we should already be anticipating that the price will have a rejection here, okay? So it's good for you to have that anticipation. Of course, it doesn't mean that when the price gets here you start selling. No, what it means is that because of this story that I'm building, right, you should expect that this level should begin to act on the price to go down, okay? So when you go to the daily, right, what do you see, right? You would notice that there is a daily key level just here, okay? So you would notice this new key level that I'm just marking now, right? And you would notice that it actually um, acted on the price on this daily candle. So the daily candle went there and it rejected, even though it didn't actually get to the weekly candle, right? So like I said, we were interested on that particular region, that particular level, or I would call it a zone. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Yes, so this is what we were looking at, what's happening here, right? This particular zone. So I'm taking this off, okay? So that's fine. Okay, and some of the one thing you should also take note of is the fact that um, you have to be very detailed with certain um, how do I say this? You have to be very particular about some details, right? Also notice that we had a fair value gap here, okay, and then we had a key level here, and so all these things are more or less pointing to the fact that this place should be respected. So now that we are here, how do we now take advantage of this drop, right? So we wouldn't want to enter aggressively because we're not sure exactly where the price will drop from. Number one. Number two, this is gold, right? And of course, you know how the pip count on gold is. So you want to be very, very careful and you want to be as precise as you can be, right? Okay, so this happened on Friday and then this was Monday. So when we on Friday, we observed that the Friday candle closed rejecting that key level on the daily, right? And not just that, this candle also swept the high of Wednesday's candle, right, and closed below it. And so we also take note of the fact that we have also an A-shaped key level here where the price is also acting from, right? So we have seen that one, we had a weekly key level, and not just weekly, because from the it was first a monthly open close, right, and then a weekly V shape. So you see the strength of it, okay, and then also on the daily level, right? So you can see weekly, monthly, weekly, daily. So it's actually telling us something here, right? But like I said, we don't just want to jump in on the sales. We want to wait for, more like other reasons that should add up to the confluence to make reasons for selling and our entry to be more precise, right? And so from this rejection, what do we now look for? We begin to look for the H4 breakout to the downside. So when we get the H4 breakout to the downside, it's more like telling us, oh, I'm ready to go down, right? I'm ready to go down. Okay, so I would have to, just for the sake of a cleaner chart, I will take out some lines. So I'm removing this one. I'll take out this one. I'll take out this one. So I'm leaving only the monthly and weekly key level. Okay. All right. And so this is my Friday candle. So I want to check my Friday candle to see if I have within it a H4 breakout. And I also want to check my Monday candle to see if I have within it a H4 breakout to the downside. Now we are only looking for opportunities to get in on the sell. So as much as we were buying here, looking for opportunities to buy here, right? Now, because of these reasons, we are now looking for opportunities for what? For sales, right? So I'm taking this off. All right. So let's go to the H4 to see if we can get in on the sell. So remember, this is Friday and this is Monday, right? So Friday gave us this strong bullish candle, and then we started to drop, and then we got to this point. Now, if we had closed here, or if this candle had closed here, then we would have counted these as that confirmed break of structure on the H4. Well, guess what happened? Before this candle closed, it pulled back and closed here, right? So that means we are not ready for sales just yet, right? We're not ready for sales just yet because something must have acted on this price to go back here, and that's just telling you, okay, buyers are still on the market, so this is not the time to enter in on the sales yet. But had this candle closed here, right, we would have just been waiting for a pullback and then we take the price down. Okay, so this is how you think, right? You follow everything systematically, right? So after this pullback that got to this point, then see the next H4 candle. It opened here and got here. Now see the H4 breakout that you can see the level. So as at here, we hadn't achieved any breakout yet, right? And instead, it was acting as a support, right? Because this candle got here and closed above this key level. This same candle did the same thing. It got here, it closed above, and then it actually drove the price up on this candle, right? It drove the price up on this candle, right? So you can say, okay, buyers have come in here, right? Buyers have come in here. So as much as you have in your mind the storyline you have built from your monthly to the weekly to the daily, and this is the 4 hours. Now, these are the little details that you should pick. These are the little details that you should pick, right? Because who is to say that the price won't do this? Who is to say that the price won't do this, right? Break, come here and break up, right? So who is to say that the price won't do this? Do you understand? So that's why you have to wait for that H4 to break, right? You have to wait for that H4 to break. So don't just enter because you want to be quick, right? As much as, yes, in hindsight, we can see that if we had entered here, we would have been very good, right? But there wasn't any sound enough reason to enter, right? There wasn't any sound enough reason to enter. So like I said, you can see that the price was actually forming higher highs, right? So there was no way to say that this price wouldn't have. As much as, yes, we know that there's a monthly and weekly key level that is strong here, okay? But the H4 should give us that, should signal us that the price is ready to go down. Okay, so where were we? We got to this point, and then we can take note of the fact that we had a little breakout to the upside here, and then we got our first break of structure on the H4. Remember, this is the H4 candle, right? So we got the first break of structure to the downside. But is this sufficient enough reason for us to begin to look for sales? I don't think so. Why? Because of this level, right? So the price could have done this, right? The price could have done this, right? But the moment we got this break, you see this break, very interesting. Like, this is just what we've been waiting for. The moment we got this break, this H4 candle that broke both this one and this one, then we now know that we are just to look for how to enter. So now the moment we got this break, we're no longer discussing are we going up or are we going down. Now we know that we are clearly going down. So all we're looking out for is how do we enter to go down. That's all we're looking for. How do we enter to go down, right? And I don't know if I should reveal how to enter here, but I don't know. Should I? Because of course, there's a difference between a free class and as much as I'm pouring out a lot of information here, right? Okay, let me just if you can think, you will see it, but you enter here, and you so reasonably you want to target this low for your first profit taking level, and then also this level, right? But I try to do 1:4 as much as possible, right? So this is my first entry, this is my first entry, this is my first entry, right? This is my first entry. Okay, so let me explain something that will help you understand certain things that happened or that happens generally. So here we have a drawing, so I hope you can see, right? So this is a bearish candle, creating a bearish open close key level. Now every bearish open close is, just take it as a resistance level, right? So see it as a resistance level, right? See it as a resistance level. So just see it as a resistance level, right? So the same thing with every A-shaped key level is a resistance level. Every A-shaped key level is what? A resistance level. Every A-shaped key level is a resistance level. Every V-shaped key level is a support level. So every bullish open close is a support level. Every bearish open close like this is a resistance level. So what it means is that when we have two candles bearish, that level, we expect that the next candle, when it gets there, it should drop. Why? Because there's a support. Sorry, there's a resistance level there. And so when it acts as a support, if the next candle breaks through, if the next candle breaks through, then that former resistance has now turned into what? A support, right? So let me take that again. We have a bearish candle and a bearish candle creating for us an open close that I said is a resistance level. It should act on the price to drop, but if it breaks through, then it begins to act as what? A support. So sometimes we may not see this the first resistance, right? So sometimes instead of having it as this, you see that the first candle here breaks, right? So when we have that, it's the same thing. It's telling us that the next candle should play from, let me take this one out, right? So yeah, so let's assume we had bearish, bullish that broke through. So the next candle will also act on this as a support and starts, moving up, right? So the same thing with when we have an A-shaped key level, right? So an A-shaped key level should bring the price down. The moment it breaks, it begins to act as a support, right? So let's go back to this level. Let's go back to this level. Okay, so this is my first entry. Like I said, if you've watched some of my, I think I have explained one or two things in my former videos, right? So you can see my first entry. But then, if you're not sure, you can also use what I explained here, right? When you have an open close bearish, right? That open close level should bring the price down, like I explained here, right? Like I explained here, that level should act as a resistance level that will bring the price down. So you can see what happened here, right? So we could also have entered from that level, right, and also gone down. So we could also have entered like this, right? So that's it for our first entry. Now, when we have done this, how do we now enter? So this is Thursday. No, this is Friday. This is Monday. So let's go to Tuesday. So this is Tuesday. So Tuesday was the day that gave us that trade, right? Tuesday was the day that gave us that the first sales that we took, right? But then how did Tuesday end? Tuesday ended with this push to the upside, right? So we want to understand, okay, why this push? What could have sponsored this push, right? We want to actually find out what could have sponsored that push, right? So on the weekly, we have a key level. So let's investigate, right? And on the daily, so you can see that push, it didn't just happen. It happened because, right, on the weekly, there was an open close key level. And remember what I explained with that diagram. With that diagram I explained, I think that's here, right? Every open close acts as what? Support. So that's why when the price on the daily, go to this point, to this level, right, certain forces were acting on it to go up. So on the daily, it is also an open close level, but a bearish level, right? A bearish level. Now, this also explained what I said. So two bearish candle is supposed to act as a what? A resistance, but then the next candle did what? The next candle broke through, and so the support level has turned to resistance, 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 and this is today's candle, Friday, resistance. Okay, so I hope it is clear. I hope it is clear. I hope it is clear, right? But let's go to the H4 to see where our breakout is. So after this push to the upside for the first H4 candle, and then the second H4 candle, and then the third H4 candle. Okay, and then we notice that the fourth H4 candle of the day gave us a bearish candle to the downside, right? Gave us a bearish candle. Now, when we look to this side to see if, okay, we want to know what caused this candle to, what caused this resistance here? Is there any key level here, right? Is there any key level here? So from the H4, I think the closest we can see is, did this act on it? This didn't exactly act on it, right? But when you go to the H3, so this is that H4 candle. Of course, it didn't get to it. So, but when you go to the H3, you can see that there's an S-shape, a V-shaped key level here that was acting on that. You can see how it got to it, right? So on the H3, it gave us something very beautiful. You know, I know some of you don't use your H3, but you see, it gave us something very beautiful. What did it give us? Not just that it's acting as a resistance, it gave us a bearish engulfing candle. That's number one. Number two, okay, let's just make reference to what I explained here. I said when we have two bearish candle, right, and then we have the next candle breakthrough, it becomes a support. So the same thing, when we have two bullish candles and then we have a breakthrough, then it acts like a resistance. So like this is what we have here. So we have this H3 candle, this H3 candle, and then we had that this one broke through that open close key level. So it becomes for us what? It becomes for us a new resistance level where we could have taken our second entry from. I hope you understand what I'm explaining, right? It becomes where we would have taken our second entry level from, right? And just in case you missed to enter here, that's on this first candle. After this first candle, second candle, we also see that there is an open close key level where we could have entered here to take the price down. Okay, I hope you understand, right? So I'm kind of like showing you a lot of things here. I believe some of you are getting it. I pray all of you should get it. So let's go back to the H4, right? So let's go back to the H4 to see some other thing. Now, just in case you missed out on this first entry and this second entry, right? So let's assume you were not there when the price triggered, right? Triggered you. Okay, so let's look at what is happening here. Now remember, this is the H4. This is the H4. Okay, let's go to the daily to look at where we are. So this is Monday, this is Tuesday. So we are looking at taking the trade on Wednesday, right? And we have already spotted this entry on Wednesday, right? Now, okay, let me just quickly make reference to that because I want to show you something. Well, I think I can explain it here. Right? So we have one bearish candle, another bearish candle, creating for us an open close key level, right? Not just that, we have this single candle creating a perfect liquidity candle, acting as perfect liquidity, right? And so the expectation is that when this candle started going up, right, we have a strong key level, an open close bearish key level that is acting as a resistance for us. You can see how immediately the price got to it, it started dropping. It started dropping, right? It started dropping, right? It started dropping. So I want to just show you something. Now, sometimes, right, some of you, you're not very confident taking the trade from maybe your H4 or your H3 or your H1, right? You want more like an added confirmation, right? For you want to see that this thing is actually really going down. That's fine. So let's take note of this particular point. Let's go to our 5 minutes. Let's go to our 5 minutes. Um, okay, yeah, my network is back. So this is the 5 minutes. My network is a bit slow now. So this is the 5 minutes. Now this is that particular point where we entered. This is that liquidity candle that was created, right? So if you were not so sure taking the trade directly from that H4, but this is your 5 minutes. So let's read the price action here, right? You can see, of course, before we came to the 5 minutes, we were already expecting a reaction. And then when we got to the 5 minutes, we started seeing 5 minutes sweep. We started seeing all these rejections from this level. And then to cap it all, we saw a 5 minutes bearish engulfing candle, right? A 5 minutes bearish engulfing candle, right? So, I mean, this should just give you, if you're scared of taking it here, at least from here, you should be able to say, okay, the price has given me something I wanted to see. So you can take it here. You still can take it here, right? You still can take it here and go all the way to the downside, right? So let's go to our H4 to see where we entered, right? So this is where we entered on the H4. So you can see this is where we entered because we were not so sure about taking it directly from this level, right? So you can still pick your 1:3, or if you want to hold it much further, you can still hold it down till to this level, right? That's if you are going to just set and forget, okay, right? So that's for this trade. So this is on the H4. So after that entry, what's next? What next? We can see that we have a new BOS on the H4 to the downside, right? So of course this is another re-entry from what I explained there, right? Open, close, bearish, acting as further sells to the downside, right? And the same thing, you can still go to your 5 minutes to pick this. Go to your, okay, let's just look at it. Let's look at it just for the sake of completeness, right? So we want to see, this is that candle we want to look at. We want to see if the 5 minutes gave us a 5 minutes bearish engulfer or something that would have allowed us to confidently enter the trade. So you can see that we had this liquidity level, right? And then we got this rejection, and then we got an engulfing candle. So this rejection and this engulfing candle, I mean, you should be confident enough to just place your entry, right? And you go 1 to 3. This is a 1 to 3, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, right? 1 to 4, 5, and you're still good, right? You're still good. Okay, remember that trading is not about avoiding risk, right? Because I mean, it's a risky market. What you want to do, you want to take the best, the most logical risk that should give you a good reward, right? A good reward. So you're not avoiding risk, right? You want to get in on the best risk that will give you a good return. So I was going to explain the next trade after this H4 breakout to the downside. We can also see that after this, the price went up to these are levels, the key levels that was created here, and then the price started to drop. So like I said, like I explained, if you don't want to get in directly here, you could have still gone to your 5 minutes, This is gold, so sometimes you want to be as precise as you can, as you can, right? You want to be as precise as you can. So where is that first? This is, you can see the rejection from those key level, and then that first engulfing candle. So this is that first engulfing candle. You can see it here, that first engulfing candle. So you can as well place your entry, and you have to write all this, and then the price gave came down, right? So let's go to the H4. So I'm showing you guys a lot of things, right? I'm showing you guys a lot of things here. So please, if you enjoyed this video, you can just tell me on the comment section that you actually enjoyed it, right? That will give me more reasons to want to make some, and tell more things and expose some more secrets, right? Some more secrets. Okay, so that's it. That's it, right? So if you count, how many entries have we had here? So we had one here for the first entry, and we had one here for the second entry, and then we had one here, then we had one here, and I think here, here, and here, right? And so of course you're not expected to take all of them, right? You can take, I mean, even if you had taken two out of this, how many I counted, two or three is fine, as long as you know what you're doing. You can wait for the best setup and you take them. Okay, and so when the things are not clear for you, you don't have to force it. When things are not clear, you don't have to force it, right? So for now, as you can see, we've been forming, we've been going down, breaking structures to the downside on the H4. So now remember what this candle, this key level, remember where it's coming from, right? Remember what this key level is. It's a weekly key level, weekly open close. So you can see that that's the reason why when the price got here, there's some kind of like friction here, right? You can see how the price was dropping, but when it got to this level, it started to, there's some friction here, right? And so we don't want to just jump in on a buy. We want to have a reason, the same thing that we waited for from this point. So we want to see a reason, right? So if this Friday closes like this, that means on Monday we want to be waiting for some reasons for us to consider taking the longs, right? We want to wait for that reason, right? So this is gold, right? So you see, it's not as difficult as it's not as difficult. It's just for you to have an understanding of what is happening, right? So in much the same way I analyze gold, I can also show you some things on just about any of these, any of them, any pair, because it works. It's about reading price actions. Okay. All right. So I'll stop here for now. I'll stop here. So thank you so much for your time. And if you have any question, please do well to reach out to me. If you're interested in private mentorship, please do well to reach out to me. All right. Thank you and God bless you.